Polelo no me for today. I know Ikalo Moa. And literally it means one can sit and enjoy himself. Well, literally it means one can sit and go eat your kalo because it's cooked now because you've done all the work. So since it's December and it is Makahiki, I thought that would be appropriate.
That is
That's
appropriate.
nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
not that we're gonna have our kalo today, but it'll have to be after the meeting. So anyway, we'll do a roll call first. I'll introduce myself. I'm Charles Young. I'm the chair. I reside in Kealia, South Kona, and I'm the chair of the present chair of the Kona CDP Action Committee. I'll ask Nancy to.
I'm Nancy Ezekiel. I'm vice chair of the Action Committee and I live in Tahoe.
I'm Charlotte Thompson and I live in Kona.
And
Yeah.
Heather Karate, I live in Captain Cook.
John?
I'm John Pelletier. I live in O'oma, North Kona.
You're muted, John.
Oh, can you hear me
Turn
now?
on your mic.
Jeez.
Uh-oh.
How about now? No?
We can't hear you.
Check, check.
Now
Okay. We're
we
good.
got-
Okay. Sorry. I'm John Pelletier, a resident of O'oma, North Kona.
Thank you. And Dave, I think you're out there.
Yeah, David Huerta, resident of Kona.
Well, thank you all for joining today. I know this is the last meeting of the year. I'll ask staff to introduce.
Aloha, Kabalo Kalili, Planning Department. And we have Mariam Palma on Zoom.
Okay, so the first order, I think will be the approval of the minutes for November 19th.
motion to approve the minutes of November 19th.
Oh, second.
So Ishishio motion and Karate second. Any comments, amendments? From hearing none, then I'll call for the motion. All in favor of approving the draft minutes of the November 19th, 2024 meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Hearing none, the draft minutes are approved. Okay, so just some business. So we generally take public testimony at the beginning of the meeting as well as when the agenda item is up for discussion, and it's up to the public which where they want to contribute. So I'm not sure we have any, I didn't receive anything here, so I'm not sure if there's anyone on the call who may want to submit testimony on any of the agenda items. And but also keep in mind that you'll have an opportunity to speak again when we get to the agenda item. So is there anyone in the public at this point? Okay, if not, we'll just go on to business. So the first item is the general plan discussion, discussion and potential action regarding submitting comment to the Leeward Planning Commission. So I'm gonna turn that over to John.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. So I brought this up. I watched the first two Leeward Planning Commission meetings on the general plan. And I thought they did a really nice job of really listening to the testimony given to them. And I thought it would be valuable for us to forward our already voted on comments to the Leeward Planning Commission. So if I would like to get those comments submitted to them for the upcoming meeting. It's in a couple days, so it's a little bit short notice. But if we can forward those comments to them, submit them as testimony, and then I was interested in going in person and reading in the testimony orally, and then being available for questions if anything arises. I think the next section is gonna be on things that are relevant to TODs and land use definitions and mapping. So I think it's a very timely meeting to submit the comments that we've already voted on. Yeah.
So the comments we already voted on, to remind everybody, had to do with the TOD mapping, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was adding the TOD to the land use definition and then adding it to the mapping. Yeah. The spots that are already identified in the Kona Community Development Plan.
And that's what we submitted under Charlie's signature, the initial comment period to the planning department, right?
Yeah, I think this was in March or May, and yeah, we submitted it and Charlie signed it. So we all voted on it. I remember we voted on it like 4 times because we voted on each one separately, and then yeah, and then Charlie submitted it or signed it, and then planning submitted it. Yeah.
Well, if you have the energy to do it, I think it'd be great. I don't have the energy to do it. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
get off nights today, and then so I'll be available to do it. Yeah, and I can attend the meeting. I think it's at Thursday at 5.
Is the meeting here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. 5 o'clock.
It's not in that room, but in the council chambers. Yeah.
Any comments by, from any of the, committee members? I had some thoughts, but I wanted to hear yours first. If there's any
Well,
comments.
I think it's great that if he's willing to do it, and I think it would be good for the Labor Planning Commission to have a copy of, because I don't think they would seen them otherwise.
Dave, do you have any comments?
I think he shook his head no.
Yeah, oh, did he? Okay. I get it. He's pretty small on my screen. Okay, so, I've had this discussion before about how we network with, some of the other committees, commissions, within the administration. So I think the opportunities, for us to share information, particularly when we submitted a letter, it's probably good, I think, good practice in that regard. So I think it's a good idea, John. And I laud you for going as well and taking the time out of your time. Certainly, I can't get through all these meetings myself anyway, but I think it's a good for 2 counts. One, you'll be there to read it in, but also there to receive comments, should there be any questions, should there be any. I think there was when I went to submit the letter on the Kona 3, one of the elements that I think was important for that the council had considered and the AG had deputy corporation counsel had advised us on was to we're going to be sending you there as a rep of the AC to represent the AC. Yeah, so that we do want to make sure that, and I trust you entirely, that the contents of the letter, remain the focus of the discussion, because the Legal Planning Commission could ask you any questions they wanted to ask. So just be mindful of that, but I'm totally in favor of it. I think most, seems like the committee is entirely. I don't know that we need to take a vote or move on that, because it's a public hearing. And it's a public document as well.
It was already previously submitted.
Yeah, it's
on the
already
record
previously-
already.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So I guess, unless there's any other comments by any of the committee members.
Well, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but I was thinking if John's willing to go there and provide input regarding the general plan, I'd maybe like to talk to another point, and maybe he'd be willing to take that if the committee agrees. Is that all right? It's a separate issue. the general plan input issue.
Yeah, let's take this issue separate because we have a letter already and we're talking about.
Yeah, but I thought we were done basically.
Yeah, I think, I just wanted to hear from you that was all right to me, or, okay. All right, so we have agreement. So again, Nancy?
Okay, so
Oh, sorry, can I, just one last thing before we switch over to this. Cavello, do you know if we can have the planning staff submit those comments like written to the Leeward Planning Commission for the upcoming meeting? So that they have it.
John was wanting.
I think so. Yeah, I think we can do that for you folks.
Okay, yeah, because they've been, every time someone speaks or like someone from a group speaks, the commission asks them if they've submitted written testimony also. So I think it'd be nice for them to have it just ahead of the meeting.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
you have and you have a copy, John?
Yes, yeah, I asked. I think Cavello sent it to me, so I have the copy, yeah.
Can we just have a vote that you guys are wanting to resubmit, wanting to submit these comments as is to planning commission, and that John will be the representative at that meeting
Yeah,
to provide that verbal testimony?
Okay, I can make the motion. So I'll motion that we submit these comments as is to Leeward Planning Commission, and I will go to the meeting and represent the AC at the upcoming meeting.
I'll second that.
okay. I think we've had that discussion already. So all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Dave, your name?
Oh.
Is a no, sorry?
No, I said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I thought I heard nay.
I'm sorry. Okay, so, hearing no nays, that, the motion passes.
Thanks, everyone. I think this will be it's a good opportunity for us to
Yeah,
get our comments out there further, yeah.
right, and, I guess, well, we cannot talk when we get to the next, to next month's agenda, but I'm assuming you're gonna be reporting that to us. And so now Nancy, second,
So I was planning on bringing this up before, but, I wasn't necessarily gonna get with them at this meeting, but when John was offering to go Leeward Planning Commission, which is in 2 days, I decided it's an opportunity to bring this other issue up at the same time. So I wrote a draft testimony to run by you guys and see if you supported, and if you supported, then maybe we could talk John into reading this into the record as well. So I'll read this proposal and see if you guys support the concept. And it has to do with the map. Again, it's a mapping issue in the draft general plan. The Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee would like to share our concern that the remapping of the 1,200 acre Hokulea property from agriculture to rural proposed in the 2045 general plan would facilitate the upzoning of land for a residential resort with a potential build out of over 1,000 homes along the coast north of Kealakekua Bay outside of the Kona urban growth area. We feel that the proposal conflicts with the Kona Community Development Plan as well as the 2045 General Plan, both of which discourage urban sprawl outside of the Kona urban growth area or existing rural towns and villages. The 2045 General Plan wisely states that, quote, the value of establishing urban growth areas lies in the ability to manage growth effectively, preserve natural and cultural resources, plan infrastructure efficiently, stimulate economic development, and foster strong, cohesive communities. Urban growth areas present a strategic approach to urban planning that balances the needs of a growing population with the preservation of Hawaii Island's unique character and heritage, unquote. So that's from the general plan. And this is me again. However, the county's recommendation to convert the Hokulea property from agriculture to rural seems to contradict the above recognition of the importance of that, quote, strategic approach, unquote. We recommend removing the 2045 general plan proposed remapping of Hokulea property from ag to rural. This would not prevent the developer from filing a petition with the state land use commission to request a boundary amendment as provided under chapter 205 HRS. So I'm putting that forth to the action committee to see if you support that, and it would require a vote, I'm sure. So if I'm proposing, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Yeah, how many of you familiar with you are? Okay, I mean, that the whole land use issue was an issue back then, and it continues to be, I think, today. So I think, I support what Nancy's proposing. Maybe we should have come back earlier. But I think it's unwise, particularly where we are located, because it is, it's bordering, it's considered central Kona, and not fully south, but it extends far beyond where the urban should, center should stay. And I think the rezoning sets a bad precedent for multifamily or many dwellings on, on a larger property. And certainly they should be able to go through land use boundary amendments and the other processes that are there under the ag agreement.
Yeah, actually, I was reading the general plan language more closely, and the 2045 general plan actually defines rural as up to 4 houses per acre. So this 1,200 acres be potential for very dense housing, down there would be huge, and it's definitely outside of the urban boundary. But
Thank you for writing. I agree. I support.
anybody
Yeah.
else have any comments?
I just have a question, just about, it's not actually, Ovalia that is, wanting to do this.
Well, it looks like that. I mean, that's specifically their property boundary. I think but the county is putting it in as a mapping proposal in the general plan.
Interesting.
It's not a regional approach, it's a specific boundary approach to that project. Yes.
Yeah, I really support this, and thank you, Nancy, for, looking into this and seeing it. I really agree that this is a form of urban sprawl, and it's kind of against the general plan. And, I know that rural is kind of a little denser than I think we would all agree with, but even this property seems against, or this specific mapping seems against the idea that they're trying to put out with the rural land use. So I agree with it. And I think I would definitely be willing to read it in. I think what I'm reading in for the first part for the TOD stuff will be pretty short. It'll just be, especially if we can get the comments submitted, then they'll have the comments and I could just kind of introduce the comments. And I think that'll be pretty short, and I can, and this testimony that you are proposing is also not too long. So I think I have plenty of time to cover both at the meeting coming up.
They'll give you 3 minutes for each one.
I don't know if they will, because it's only one agenda item is the general plan. And so
yeah.
I don't think they'll give me
Yeah,
2 separate
yeah,
ones,
I
but
don't think so.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
I don't
didn't
think-
know.
I don't
Yeah.
think I'll give them 2 separate with that.
but I think combined this testimony and the one I'm planning to submit is about the same length as the one I submitted personally for the Bill 169 a while ago, and I was able to read that in with plenty of time. So
I think you're probably faster than I do.
yeah, I'll practice with the timer.
Janice, you have your hand up.
We can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Unmute.
Hey, hi, sorry,
Hi.
hi, everybody. I'm getting you, this must be an updated app because I'm having trouble learning. I haven't used it for a while. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for bringing this up, Nancy, and all the comments. And just as the general public and someone who was involved in issues around that back in the old days, I'm really thankful that you guys brought it up. I think even the rural zoning in the general plan 2045 is still a bit confusing. And if I could add anything, I would ask that that be clarified even more for the general public to understand how it's being used and where and why, and some more specifics, as I just haven't been able to wrap my head around it. But I think for Hokulea specifically, your comments have been great, and I really appreciate that. And thanks for also going to the hearing, John, and everyone for the letter too. Very important. Thanks.
Thanks, Janice.
Does David have any comments? It's not.
Dave, you have any comments on this discussion?
Never.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, so I guess we need a motion to do this as well, as we did in
Yes.
the earlier one. Okay, so can someone move?
I'll make a motion. To discuss it, or to, I don't know.
But the action committee supports this position of
Okay.
having hopefully
Yes.
remaining agriculture instead of.
Sorry, I was writing notes. Yes, I propose that we do, discuss this mapping issue with Hokulea.
I think the motion is just for us to submit the letter
Submit the letter.
in support of
Sorry.
keeping the rural zoning, and that John would be our representative.
I would love for John to be represented. Would you do that, please? I made the motion.
Awesome.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I'll do better next time.
So yeah, since this is the last, kind of a last minute thing, because the meeting is Thursday, it won't be able to go through the whole protocol of, going through the planning department, having Charlie sign it, so he wouldn't be submitting it as written testimony formally. It would be like he'd be reading our concern into the record, which I think would serve, purpose at this point.
It's not too big though to submit written testimony, is it?
Well, because it has to go through the planning department and they have to do the letterhead, and then Charlie has an electronic
Okay.
sign.
from the chair.
It's much more complicated.
Got it.
We can submit it formally later when it gets further on.
Because I do think it's a good idea when we bring things like to the planning committee that we do submit the written testimony.
Yeah, well, but we didn't
But later,
kind of know
it's
this.
fine. Yeah.
Sort of a last minute, oh my goodness, it's Thursday, they're talking about land use.
Yeah, and they'll have more meetings upcoming too, so we could always submit it to them later at just a different meeting and for them to just have. If we wanted to submit it written also, or we could wait and submit it to the council written, either one, but I'll read it in.
Since John was willing to go there, then it seemed like a good opportunity to get the issue out into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think they're two great issues too. I mean, they're two of some of the more important things to me, which is the TODs and preventing urban sprawl. So I think they're both great.
Yeah, the preventing urban sprawl was addressed so much in this general plan, so it was really baffling to me. And they articulate why we don't want urban sprawl so clearly in the general plan language. And of course, the CDP is full of anti-sprawl language. We need to start concentrating infrastructure and growth within our huge urban boundary. We have a huge urban boundary that isn't developed, and it's lacking, not only isn't developed, but it's lacking infrastructure. And that's where we should be directing this type of future growth. And I think the general plan articulates that very well.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote on the motions. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay, carried none. Okay, so that motion is approved as well.
Thank you, Nancy, for looking into this and
So thanks for willing to carry it in there, because it wouldn't have happened if, you wouldn't have been willing to be the messenger.
that's the easy part.
Not to Millie.
You can report that back in the January meeting. Okay, so, is there any other discussion on agenda item, the first agenda
On the
item,
general plan.
agenda plan discussion? Yeah. If not, we'll close it.
Yeah, we'll have you know, it's gonna go through the Leeward Planning Commission, and then it's gonna go to the planning committee, and then it's gonna, so we'll have a lot of chance if other things come up that we feel like we need to weigh in on, and
Yeah.
so this isn't like the deadline or anything.
Okay, so I'm gonna close agenda item 1. Number 2.
One little
Oh, sorry, Janice, your hand up.
and thank you. Back to what I was saying before, and I was just wondering if this could be, I don't know how everyone feels about it, except for other people I've spoken to, but still the other new zones, the recreation and natural, I know it's not related to the Hokulea issue, but I just think in general, that's one of the shortcomings of the new plan or the process of the new GP is that I think people are still unclear on why things are being changed, what those zones really are. And I don't know, I feel like that needs more work as far as communicating to the public. And I don't know if that's, something that the action committee wants to or can do, but I just think it's really important because the planning department has said that they're not changing zones of anything, that's not what the GP does, but we actually are, seeing changes made to rural and recreation, natural and other zones. So thank you.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, if there's no further comments, I'm gonna move on to agenda item 2, which is the chair and vice chair nominations and elections. So it's a discussion and potential action to elect a chair and vice chair for the Kona CDP Action Committee for 2025. So I'll open that up for discussion.
So we need to nominate people? Is that what we're supposed
Yep.
to do? Okay,
Yes, you can.
nominate Charlie Young as chairman for the upcoming year.
I'll second that.
Okay,
My question is gonna be, are you willing to do that?
I have conditions. I am. First, I'm willing because, there is a continuum that I feel strongly we should follow. We should try to, go through a succession plan, and I think we're there. We're in it now. But I do feel very strongly too that in succession planning, we need to develop resources, not just amongst the community, but within the community. In the committee, but we need to develop the resources in the community in general. And I think maybe we're onto that by getting out there and more in public and inviting more public discussion to the table and networking with the other committees and commissions within the county, the administration, and maybe even with the new mayor that might prove a little bit more successful for us. However, I'm still committed I can commit to staying on as chair. But I think I really would want to see that we have a focused effort on succession planning, so in 2025. So I'm okay with that. So yeah, I'm willing to serve
Thank you.
for the other year or until we find a successor, whichever comes first. So
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, for being willing to do it. I think it's been great watching you and learning how you run things, and I think it's gone really well. So thank you for continuing to do it.
Yeah, well, the chair's only as good as the committee. I can take it only so far. So I thank all of you guys for stepping up to the plate too with your issues and bringing the discussions forward. So anyway, where do we go now? We vote on that?
Yep. We can vote now.
Okay,
I'm gonna stay.
oh, you're gonna abstain, okay, well, does that mean I'm supposed to say, ask for the question?
You can say so, yes.
Okay, well, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of Charlie Young being our chair for the Kona CDP Action Committee for 2025, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, okay, it's unanimous, thank you, Charlie.
Well, I'll say you're welcome. Okay, it's vice chair nominations. Is open to the floor. I'm gonna nominate Nancy.
I'll second it.
Okay, just for discussion, I think she's really doing a good job as the vice chair, and if I really had my druthers, I'd probably vote her for the chair. But that's maybe in the future. I think a lot of what we have accomplished has been with Nancy's help working, you know, in the forefront and in the background. And so I really appreciate that as the chair. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion of having Nancy serve as the vice chair for the year 2025, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
All opposed? Hearing none? Welcome, Nancy, vice chair, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, that was.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. I agree with Charlie that you've done a lot for, especially for all the new people coming in. I think you've been so huge with us, and so thank you for being willing to be vice chair again.
Okay. All right, that concludes that item, I guess. Okay, so third item I'll open is other advisory committees discussion. So this would be discussion and potential action on how the Kona CDP AC may interact with other advisory committees on CDP and related matters, and I think that was an open discussion.
Yeah, you brought that up, so why don't you
Right.
give the background on that?
Yeah, well, it's been our experience over the last few months that when we do interact with other committees, such as the cultural resource committee, there are issues that we become aware of that we ourselves would probably not dig into, because that's not where we're focusing. So I think it would really help the administration, and this is one of the points I think we want to make to the mayor, is that how do we formulate that process whereby we are able to interact with the other decision makers or advisory committees within the administration, because they're really there to advise, to help the administration, to help connect with communities, to help with interests, special interests. But if we're not all connected, it seems like, at least from my vantage point, it really doesn't fully utilize all that effort that's going on out there. It certainly doesn't organize it. And I don't think we could count on the planning director or even administration solely to keep track of that all. So I don't have an answer for that at this point, but just, you know, something to think about. One of the ways we're doing it now is to, like, when John goes and interacts with the planning commission on Thursday, that's one level. Mine showing up at the county council, I think that's another level. And maybe participating in some of those other meetings that, you know, CRC has, and some of the other advisory committees or councils or within the administration. If we can do it as individual council members, as individual committee members, you know, with the approval of the committee as a whole. I don't believe that is really contributing to any of the sunshine issues or the intentions of the committee, the action committee itself. So there was in the documents, the incorporating documents of the action committee, it clearly says that we can go to the planning department and ask for certain reports to come back to us. But I think in the past, we've kind of lacked really the knowledge that those things are out there, so we're not really asking the planning department to come to us. Because we're not actually aware of the issues that might be important to us. So I think we're gonna have to go out there and reach out for it for ourselves. I guess that's fine. I'm saying this, I think it's gonna take effort on our part. And I wanna kind of load the committee up with that thought now, because I think next year we're probably going to be looking, certainly for some of the participation that is not present at the meeting. We're gonna have to go and network with some of the other committees. So, there are no processes in which we formally meet out, or is it just chairs calling chairs? Or vice chairs calling vice
One thing I
chairs?
was thinking is maybe we could, pick a meeting where we could invite a chair of some other committee and like have them come as a guest and talk to them about, what issues are, just. And pick different ones on different months and have them come. Is that an idea?
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we
then
could-
just
and we
say,
could-
we wanna collaborate with you, so we wanna talk about what we might have, in common where we could work together and just have a discussion about it. And the cultural resources committee really comes to mind because we presented their testimony at that last meeting, but we never talked to them directly.
No.
We should have.
No, and they had some very strong opinions,
Yes,
so.
so I think it's a great idea, and I think chapter 16 says we're supposed to collaborate with other groups, so.
Mhm.
So that falls under that sort of umbrella as well.
Can I make a suggestion? I think one of my first guests might be
Who?
somebody from the water reclaiming committees, I guess, clean water solution committee, is that what it's called?
I think he's talking about county boards and commissions right now.
Okay, just county boards.
And I think that's what it
Yeah.
means.
It was part of that. Okay, I'll get more educated. I've been listening to all of their meetings on video. And it sure seems that it was such an education, about reclaiming water and that's something that we need to do for our infrastructure. So that really
One
good.
thing we set up was a pig, which we haven't put together yet, to have like a public meeting on water issues and invite different people to
Yeah.
come. We haven't
I haven't
done
done that, but
no.
There are a number of groups out there who are really concerned about water and trying to interact with the president administration to,
The county itself doesn't have like a community-based water committee either.
the water department is sort of independent.
Yeah.
That's one of the uniqueness of the Department of Water Supply. Yeah. And we have had Keith or Commodities, head of the, come and talk to us. Yeah. And, but the concerns of the public don't necessarily flow through his sort of presentations to us because he's looking at it. Well, I won't speak for him in this regard, but he's part of the administration, so that's his job is to really work within the administration. And some of the public concerns are coming from outside of the department. So I'm not quite sure how I think maybe we need a mix of both, have both publics, people who are out there, as well as administrative heads to make sure that they're part of it too.
Yeah, and I guess we could get the list of county boards and commissions and look at the ones that might be, appropriate to invite their chairs to our meetings.
The list
Because there certainly are quite a few of them
they're listed on the
on the website.
website, right? So we can find that out.
Yeah.
for ourselves.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's start. Oh, I'll start there then. I'll go in and take a look. And I encourage you all to do the same. And then if there are any particular areas you wanna sort of focus in on. And then what we can do then maybe is come up with maybe a priority list and then work out how we contact or stay in contact with them.
And some of them, like you were suggesting, we might attend their meetings, but we might invite them to attend our meeting,
Right.
depending on the situation.
Right.
Could I say a quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you can tell with my hands up. I was just thinking this is such a great idea, and I think that one of the big holdups all these years is just a lack of understanding, and the way things are always done are the way things are done. Sometimes in those, in the departments, it's changed even from administration to administration, and especially now we have a new mayor who is unfamiliar with the plan, and I just think a lot of the department heads are just unfamiliar with it. They don't have time, they don't have a real reason, and I think just being able to make this bridge is just a fantastic idea. So to find out where, instead of it being a threat, the CDP being a threat to the way things were always done, to be able to show where we can bridge is just, I think that would probably go a really long way in getting some things done on the plan, seeing them come to fruition. I really applaud this effort, you guys. Thanks.
Well stated, Janice.
Thank
It's been
you.
a long time. And I mean, you do just see, I just see, it reminds me of just like knowing somebody online all the time and you never really have dealt with them in person. And so you just don't have that same impetus to get deep with them or, go any further. And yeah, so I mean, I just think all the time about why things aren't implemented in this plan, because is so dear to our hearts. And I just think that a lack of understanding and feeling threatened can just happen like in a subtle way that holds things up. So thanks.
And also just going to other meetings or having people come to our meetings just raises the visibility too.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we're out of sight, out of mind with them. That's really, I mean, how do we get more public engagement? How do we spread this out? I mean, we've been talking about this for so long, and it's hard. And I medon't know, COVID, I think, really set us back as far as interactions. I think even as much as the Zoom has helped, it's also, I don't know, I think people are just out of practice going to meetings, and I think we lost our visibility more than we had already not had it to begin with. But yeah, I think it could be really great.
Okay.
Well,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna recommend a while ago, our deputy corporation counsel, and I can't remember her name, she's not here today, had recommended using the county calendar as a way to know what public meetings are going on. And I have been using, that's basically what I've been using to figure out what's going on. It's been really helpful, and I highly recommend it to everyone just to use that to keep up. It's a little bit different than, interacting with the committees, but knowing what's coming up and what's on their agendas, it's a really great place to go.
Okay, well then if I can challenge this committee before we get to the January meeting, to talk about this on the agenda later, as well as can I ask you guys to go through the calendar and just kind of, let's get ourselves familiarized with it, each one of us. And then maybe we can have as an agenda item, we can come back next month and have something, a discussion a little bit more in detail on how we kind of like approach that outreach with the, okay.
I would also recommend with the county calendar, if you're looking at the mayor's boards and commissions website, they have them all listed along with their fact sheets. If one piques your interest, then you can do a little deeper dive in that way also.
And there are recent minutes and agendas as far as what's on their priority list and how it might be compatible with our priorities.
I've had some difficulty finding some of these things online. Any chance we could get a link?
I can send it to you.
Okay.
That's pretty easy to find.
I've been trying to find bills to read up on. I've been trying to find that and floundering trying to.
Please contact him.
I'll read it.
Yeah, it's a little confusing at first, especially finding bills and how to track them. And then once you have the websites, though, it becomes easier and you see how things are linked, but it's not intuitive, I would definitely say, yeah.
I'd like to agree with that. I think it was real. I mean, with all the years I've been doing this, I had trouble finding the calendar. Once I found it, like you said, John, then it's no problem. But I think there's something about that, and I'm not a website designer, but I just don't think not being intuitive is definitely it. And I think that stops people from accessing what's going on. So it would be great if there was just a simpler way to find it.
Okay. All right, is there more discussion on this issue?
Well, thanks a lot for bringing it up. I think it's
Sure.
the end of this year and as we move into the next year, it's a good thing to sort of set our minds upon as a goal.
Yeah, I think.
I
it
agree.
puts-
Thank you, Charlie.
Well, absolutely. I think it puts more, a little bit more on our plate, but in the. I think at the end of the day, it's gonna make us more effective. As well, and which will be more gratifying, I think, for some of us.
I appreciate it as a new member, because I'm just trying to find tread to put my feet on, and I need to know, what can I do and what's already been done, and
Well, it does take time.
yeah,
It's a whole new process of knowledge.
so this is gonna be really helpful.
And the other thing about it is it's another way to increase our visibility to attract more members, because if people see that we're out there doing things, then they'll be more interested in joining this community to be
Yeah.
part of what's going on.
Okay. So we have some homework. Okay, is there any other discussion on this business item 3? If not, we can close it. Can I just move the agenda, with regards to discussion of potential addenda for next one? Can we do the announcements first?
Sure.
Because I think arising out of that, we may have some ideas of what to put on the agenda. So I wanted to go through those first.
So you want to go through announcements first?
Right,
Oh,
you're-
okay,
you're
so I
vice
guess we
chair.
should talk about that.
Yeah.
I have an update for those of you that were around last year, at the very last minute before the state legislative session. We, Senator Kanuha introduced a bill that we drafted, to put the islands action committees under the neighborhood board rules for the sunshine law. There's a sunshine law that was adopted in 1975, and then in 2008, the city and county of Oahu were able to get a bill passed to kind of carve them out with their own sunshine law rules. So the year we were getting the CDPs approved, they were actually went before the legislature and got this revision to chapter 92 for neighborhood boards or similar committees around the state, but they didn't define what similar committees around the state were, and so it was hard to fit us into it. And so we drafted the bill to kind of broaden that says the chapter 92, 81, and 82 and 83 says applies to neighborhood boards and other similar boards around the state or something, but it's very ambiguous. And so we got the bill introduced and I had the title that referred to neighborhood boards, and the bill was going through the session okay, but then one of the committee chairs said that the title was wrong because it actually wasn't addressing neighborhood boards, that's a specific to city and county of Honolulu. And so they deferred the bill. They didn't kill it, but they deferred it. But the problem that I didn't know at the time is you can't change the title of the bill once it's been introduced in the session. So we couldn't change the bill and keep going last session, so we were stuck. So Senator Kanuha's office redrafted the bill with a new title to make it more generic for it, and they've agreed to reintroduce it. And I met with State Representative Apala on Friday, and she's willing to do a companion bill in the House of Representatives. So we'll have the same bill introduced both in the House and the Senate. And she was very in favor, both Senator Kanuha and Representative Apala are very much in favor of these types of meetings to try to engage, grassroots participation in government. And they, and she could speak, she was very clear, had a clear understanding of the importance of that. And it was a very good meeting. I was very relieved.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an update. The bill is basically the same as it was last year. What it does is allows for us to take public testimony on items that aren't on the agenda, but we can't vote on anything. It's up to us, leaves it up to us we can hold a meeting if we don't have a quorum, as long as we don't vote on anything. So it basically keeps the sunshine law intact, but it gives us more flexibility to, like, for example, the meeting that got canceled with the presentation on the general plan, we could have gone forward as long as we didn't Kona. So it's not a big change, but it would really help our flexibility a lot. And I'm really glad that our representatives on the state level are willing to carry this forward again. So it isn't an item to vote on, but I wanted to provide you with an update of where it's at right now. So we're gonna have to stay on it, and I'd like to try to reach the other ACs to make sure they understand that this is happening, so that they can get them to provide testimony at appropriate times.
So Nancy, the timetable would be, we can expect that Senator Panula and Representative Capella will introduce companion bills. And the ledge is not getting started till what, January 17th, usually they open. Somewhere around there. We're gonna have a meeting before that on the 7th. Is there a chance we can get something in writing before that? What the proposal actually is?
Well,
from
it looks,
Senator
wait, I've got it already, actually, it just doesn't have a bill number yet.
Okay, so it's not on the agenda today, but, well, maybe it is. Maybe we can make copies and have it reviewed on the January.
Oh, definitely, I think
Okay.
it'll probably have a number by then.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same as the one that was distributed last
Okay.
year. It's-
Okay, so my concern is that not only does it get introduced, that we do a follow-up. And I don't know what form that's gonna take, and maybe send a letter,
Oh, definitely, I mean, we're gonna have to send testimony and support it.
and maybe somebody hand carry it to a committee to read it in. Or, because it's gonna go through, I don't know what stages of approval, but we'll find that out when the bill is introduced.
I think it's gonna go through a number of committees based on what happened last year before it got stopped, and now it's got both House and Senate.
Right, right.
I'm willing to go over, and some, at least a few times to testify in favor if it seems like it's gonna be helpful for the bill, because I really want this. This isn't gonna just help us, it's gonna help all the other CDPs, plus there may be similar, committees on other islands that this will apply to. So it's a statewide issue that gives more flexibility for these types of committees to interact with the community, basically. If somebody walks in the door, we don't say, sorry, you have to put it on the agenda next month,
Okay, we'll bring this back up on the next, on January, so January get an update from you.
And I talked to Brad Kurokawa from the Hamakuk CDP happened to call me, and I told him this is happening again, and he was really happy about it as well, because he said the same thing. He said they're having trouble, getting community participation because the way the sunshine law is right now, it's just too rigid. And so he thought, this is something, and he offered to help as well.
Yeah, last year it was referred to the Judiciary Committee, and that's where it died. So I imagine it's going to go to the same thing this year, on either side. So
Okay, so we can bring it up again on the 7th, we'll have a little more clarity, and then I would like to form some kind of a plan as to how we follow up, not just with the letter.
That's the main thing. It's important for people to understand that we're not fooling with the main sunshine law, 'cause that's like a common cause, and some of those groups get really nervous if they think you're trying to dilute the sunshine law. They don't necessarily know that this section of the sunshine law for neighborhood boards even exists. So that's the main thing that, I was talking to Representative Hello about that. And she said an interesting thing. She said she has a contact with Common Cause, and she's going to talk to them about this bill, which will be very helpful. Because they're very protective of the overall sunshine law.
Okay. So the next item we had is the communication on the cadence. Everybody got the memo on the cadence
Yeah,
for next year? Any discussion?
no, it's fine to me at this point.
Seems like it's the same as this year.
Yeah. Yeah, the January meeting is on the first Tuesday. Feb is on the 2nd. and then the rest is second.
Mhm. Yeah, we changed it from the third Tuesday to the second Tuesday.
Right.
So
Okay.
is that okay for you folks?
Yeah, except the
Second
January
Tuesday.
meeting is on the
On the first Tuesday.
first, yeah, so that's the only one out of
That's the
cadence.
only one.
Right, okay,
I just won't be able to make it to the January meeting if it's the first week.
Yeah.
If it's the second, third, or fourth.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, luckily with the moved meeting, I could still make that one in January. So, and then everything else is fine. Yeah. I could schedule my work around it.
how does that look for you, Dave? Okay, just in case you are on, please go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they keep it on. All right,
I would be in like an upside down time zone. For sure.
I guess I want to double check that this time is still good for everyone. Like the 12 to 2, or it's fine with me, but I just wanted to make sure that it's the best for achieving quorum, I guess.
It's fine for me.
yeah, it works good for me because I don't have to drive in so early. Of course, you're in Omaha, yeah, Kelly is. If it's too early, I catch the traffic,
Mhm.
the kind of little brawl. Okay, but it works good for me. It's a good time. Okay. So the cadence we're good with. So we talked already about a little bit about the general plan. And the legal commission, is there any other discussion on that?
Yeah, this looks like they're just announcing the date and time of the meeting on Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, 5 to 9. It's gonna be a late one.
Yeah,
On Thursday.
Yeah, just before.
yeah, they changed it. It was 9 o'clock in the morning originally, wasn't it?
They've mostly been in the afternoons, at least so far. I can't remember when this one was originally scheduled because they're meeting earlier in the day for their normal meeting. It's usually what it is. They meet for their normal meeting and then they pivot to this one.
Oh, can I make an announcement that's not on here? Is that allowed?
Yeah,
Yes,
Go ahead.
part of it.
Yeah, it's, if you recall, there was the Kona Open Space Network committee, and that was made up of 4 different members, and then they stepped down, and they sort of appointed me to be the Kona CDP Action Committee rep for the ongoing Kona Open Space Network Committee. But the consultant Jacobs is still meeting with the committee, and we had a meeting last week, and Janice was sat in on the meeting because she's one of the original committee meetings on the Kona Open Space Network meeting. And actually, I have to say, it's been going on, all year, and this last meeting was a really satisfying meeting because they had a guy from Na'alahele there, the state trail program, and he did a lot of work in advance to do a really comprehensive mapping within the urban boundary of all the Na'alahele trails that could be incorporated into an urban open space network with stuff that we'd already identified. And it was for me, it was very exciting, and because I didn't think anything like this would ever get accomplished, and even to get as far as it did, it was really cool. And he knew the information about all the trails and which ones connected with current, potential pathways or even roads that have good pedestrian access where they could be integrated. And if they can really continue to pull this off, that would be a wonderful contribution to the overall urban plan. And he knew which trails were still public domain. He knew which ones had been under the Highways Act, but I didn't know it. But the government sold quite a few of them off before, and I didn't know that. So like ones in Tahoe that are still on the ground were sold by the government to the private landowners. And so it was very exciting and very interesting as well. So wonderful that if we can keep going with it and it gets implemented, it'll be the wonderful contribution to the communities. So I'm still going to be. I don't have a lot to contribute. There are people on that committee that know so much, but I'm I'm your representative.
I'd like to go to that meeting too.
No, they're not open.
That's really exciting. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, the open space is such an important part of the plan, the CDP plan, so. That's really cool.
And the whole concept came from the Kona CDP is recommending that the Kona Open Space Network plan be adopted. The county was willing to move on that particular item in the Kona CDP and hire a consultant to work with the committee. So it's the way it should work.
One of the initial things that had to happen though, was that the county had to appropriate the funds to do it. So keep in mind that when we do have suggestions, even though they're contained within the CDP, if there's funding that's required for it, we've got to work on that portion too. We've got to convince the county, and not just for the need, but the need to get the money. And I only bring that up because it took a year maybe to get the funding to finally approve, you know, and you have to go through the fiscal cycle and all of that. So it's very consuming. So, I mean, hats off to the Open Space Committee because they stuck with it through 2 or 3 terms and after.
You know, as an example of something that some members seized upon and just made it their obsession and followed it through.
Yeah, good. Thanks for reporting on that. We had a letter from the carpenters
Yes.
folks. Can we? I don't know if anybody had any comments on that.
Which one?
The one that came from the carpenter union.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was surprised to see it. Did they?
I just wondered if anybody had any.
Did they
thoughts
send
on
this to the other action committees or did they just send it to us, do you know?
I think just Kona. Yeah.
Wasn't quite sure, of what motivated it, but maybe, I don't know. But it seems, I don't know how you interpret it, it seems sort of positive, I guess.
Mhm.
Did everyone on the committee receive a copy of this?
You talk about the carpenters?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they sent it out in the packet. Yeah, I'm guessing it was because we had the general plan on our agenda that they sent it to us.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I thought it was encouraging. Actually, that they took notice. So, great.
did anybody sign it? No, it doesn't look like it. I was gonna say, should we send a thank you letter?
From Mark Anthony.
Yeah, there's a header at the top that has from Mark Anthony Clement.
Okay, we'll come back to the agenda then, proposed agenda for next month. We have some homework that we're gonna report on anyway. Right, so we have we're gonna all look at the calendar, the county's calendar,
And
and
the mayor boards and commissions.
yeah, the mayor's boards and commissions.
And your
So-
letter,
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna ask about the mayor's letter. Did that get sent to the mayor?
Yeah,
So I guess maybe there. I don't know if because we invited him to the next meeting, right?
Mm.
yes. Yes.
Possibly. I guess we'll have to see if he responds before we officially put that on the agenda. And I'll also report back from the Leeward Planning Commission on the next meeting.
Right, okay.
so we're back on the, next meeting agenda.
Right.
Now, I
Right,
guess that, so especially since John's gonna report back, I'd want to put the general plan update back on the agenda.
yeah, I think we should just keep it on.
Yeah, we should. just-
Yeah, it should be like a standing one for the next
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
And also maybe we can put, this neighborhood board, bill on the agenda, because I'll probably
Yeah.
have the actual bill with a number on it, and we'll probably want to take action, like Charlie said, to vote to send testimony or whatever, so instead of an announcement, that should be an agenda item.
Any other suggestions for agendas? items at this point. You can always feel free to either contact myself or Nancy, or even send it into staff. And generally we have a discussion on the agenda
Mhm.
a week or so before, and then we kind of work through, what's what the priorities are. Okay. If there's no other business, we can move to adjourn.
Does staff have any comments or updates you want to provide?
No, not that I can think of. Maybe after the meeting, we can talk about the chair meeting before the January meeting, because the holidays are, coming up. Busy.
Is there any reason we're having it so soon, that just with the holiday, like basically the next 2 weeks are kind of a wash for a lot of people?
Mhm.
And then so it just seems so soon.
Yeah, I think because we have 4 other committees that we have to schedule within the month, so
Someone needed to go.
yeah.
Maybe, if you think of it, could you send us the dates for the other AC meetings? Because we're gonna have to start contacting them regarding this bill.
Okay. Sure.
Decide whether to attend their meetings via Zoom or actually physically attend their meetings, to try to educate them about this opportunity.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other business, we're gonna adjourn. Move to adjourn.
I'll make motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your
Thank
time,
you.
and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Well, hi, everybody. Thanks.
Happy holidays, everyone. See you next year.